All right. I think, Patsy, you finished saying what you were saying. And do either of you want to say anything else since now we're recording? Nope. Hang on. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Will.
They won't be able to hear you.
Oh, okay. The only thing that I would like to say is I would like to proceed. I personally like to go ahead and proceed with the fire territory and the physical cost of what it would cost the town of Danville and Center Township. That being said, I think that should be done first before we even consider anything about consolidation.
So I have a question, and if I did ask this, I apologize. Is it whether or not Center Township agrees to the consolidation, is that a matter of a board vote?
That I'm not sure. I
or
think
does
it
the
might
trustee, I guess, who makes that decision for the township?
We need to ask our attorney.
Okay.
I would just say that obviously this part of the meeting was noticed for fire territory, so
Okay.
I get that it comes up interchangeably with the discussion, but maybe just tonight we should talk about that, and then if we want to do it in the future, we can notice for fire or for both.
Thank you. Okay. So does anybody have any more comments regarding the fire territory? Okay. I would like to make a couple of comments on it, if I may. I'm not necessarily opposed to the fiscal study that we were talking about for the territory, but I think that as we move forward and when we have to make a decision, I guess the first thing is we have to make a decision: do we want to shell out $25,000 of taxpayer dollars for this study in the first place? That's always something we have to decide with great thought and consideration. But I think we're in a different climate economically in our country right now than we were even 2 years ago, but certainly 3 years ago. And so, Patsy, to your point, this is not a zero balance sheet here when it comes to increasing a tax on one side and decreasing a tax on the other side. There is a net increase in tax on this, and I think that not only because of what's right for the town and what's right for the taxpayers, but we have to be very careful, I think, and if we're going to make a decision like that, we have to carefully consider the consequences and the fallout. I said it at our first meeting, I'll say it again. The schools were crucified during the referendum discussion, and we just have to be considerate of that. And not just because how it might affect us, but how it might affect the taxpayers. We're just in a different world right now, and that's could be a heavy burden. I spoke with someone today who has some connections with Brownsburg Fire Department, and they're a territory as well. And their statement to me was they're strapped for cash right now, even in their fire territory. So my comment to that, and this is just my opinion, one council member, is that it's not an end-all, be-all to having a fiscally sound operation. I think that there's two sides to that equation, and perhaps the most important side is being good stewards with the money that you do have, and considering that we're dealing with public money and not just with consumers who might be willing to pay a higher price for a product that they receive. So it's just, like I said, we're in a different spot right now. And I think that as we make a decision as a council on whether or not to go to the fire territory, and I know it's the earliest would be next year, I just think we have to really consider that because this is going to be a tax burden for our citizens. And that's all I have on that. Mark, I think we had one other thing in the work study, is that correct?
That is correct. The department heads, at the direction of the assistant town manager, have been going over their fee structures in our code of ordinance. And tonight before you, just for discussion, are the amendments that the department heads and Will are proposing.
Was there a presentation for this?
Yeah, I'll run through all the highlighted user fees. Anything in yellow is a change. Let me pull it up so I can have the same document that you're working on.
Mark, is this coming up in the council meeting as well? I didn't think so. Okay.
No.
Sure. Okay. Appreciate that.
And make sure the lawyers look over it. Tag. All right, so we will start out here. So we pretty much took what we did, I think a little over a year and a half ago, and we just made some modifications. Our goal with our fees is to make it so that citizens can actually read the documents that we put together. So the front page of it is the ordinance, which we'll update whenever we come. And then we also reference the fees guide from prior because we're updating it. So just kind of rolling into this first one, let me make it a little... And we try to categorize them by the department that is using them. Okay. So if you look at this one, it's code enforcement. So they're looking to change alarm registration. Resident, $25, and then commercial, $50. So it looks like it's $5 on one and doubling on the other. And that is the permit for security. I believe it's security. Yeah. So no questions there. All right, rolling into the next one. This one was more just banners in general, and I believe the fee was $150. And the general banner is the only thing we're collecting currently. The 100 could probably go away.
Well, I apologize if you explained this before you started, but why are we raising the fees? Was there...
Some aren't raising, we're actually clarifying, but
okay.
Some are raising. Okay. So some of these little ones, by the time you spend your hour, it's pretty much like an hourly thing on some of those. And some we're updating them because they weren't actually in here prior.
Gotcha.
So I believe this one actually wasn't in here prior. And so he's adding it in because he's having to spend the time to do these permits.
Okay.
So.
All right.
And then the banner one's kind of self-explanatory with that one. It's still probably undervalued by the time we put all the work into it. But sure. Residential, this one is building and storm.
Barry's at a conference.
Is at a conference? Yeah. So looks like he's got decks going up, $25.
Actually, we didn't have decks at all. We weren't even collecting that at some point. We don't know why we weren't, but we weren't. Or patios. It was patios we were collecting. Yeah.
So he's just wanting to make sure his time is worth it, in the long run. And that's what a lot of these are about. We're kind of undervaluing our services, and so we're trying to get to where the value meets the work. So, and that's where you see a lot of these with the time. Larger structures take more time.
Okay.
And this is just an introduction, so feel free to kind of take it in, and then, any changes you see, write down, let us know, and we can work on that. So, and then he's got all of those permitting things in there. Kind of run through. And because they're categorized, you can direct your questions to me, and I'll forward it on to the department. Fences, definitely undervaluing that. This time of year, fences are hopping. Signs and banners. Looks like he's got that in 2 spots. Jumping up to the 50. Field inspection fee. I think this runs along with that company as well. Because we have a secondary company that we can use to do inspections if we get really busy. I don't think, have we used them yet?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, rolling through this one. Okay, why is that? And then this is Public Works. Andy did have some changes in there, but probably removing more than adding. And his were just some adjustments, and he's here if you have any questions.
And some of these were moved out of one division into another. So that's why you see, like on the banners, he struck through those because they're being covered in another division.
That's kind of like our whole thing where we're trying to clean it up. Clean it up for citizens, but also clean it up for us and making sure we know,
Right.
what we're supposed to be charging and where it's supposed to be going.
Right.
And then each department can make their own, guide from there on, what their expenses are.
I think I put that in there twice. I'm sorry.
It's all right. And then fire.
When your agendas are like 100 pages long, you get a little confused sometimes. I'm sorry.
And we got scanning capacity issues.
That's true. Yeah.
So this one is Rob. So Rob didn't add anything in our last one, but still has some fees he's collecting. So we wanted to make sure we got it into this guide. He does have a lot. His are all new ads. So besides the copy of the incident report, I think that one changed. That was the only one they had prior, which is on par with, I think, the police have that same price. So lot of items to look over in that one. And then ours, we actually went in front of the park board and they did pass ours. So technically we're good, but we like to have the council's blessing whenever we're moving forward. Then we got planning. We had the temporary and permanent signage. This is where we got a little messed up because our banners, we have signage in a bunch of spots, but we don't say what. So this kind of cleaned that up a little bit.
And it should be noted those are specific to the corridor protection overlay district. So that's the protected area.
Yeah, and that's noted in the category.
It is.
Yeah. Police, definitely, Jim wanted to make sure that the lawyers are looking over this, just to double check and make sure he's doing everything that he's allowed to do. But there are some add-ins there and some adjustments, and he put the reasons why next to it, which was really good as well. And running into, there wasn't many changes in wastewater and water. They did want to up the tap fee. They did look at Brownsburg, Avon, and yeah, and they just wanted to not be above them. So making sure we're still cost effective, but still making sure our service, we don't undervalue our service, especially with the development coming. Water issue, but this Barry was pretty adamant about this. I think he spoke with Banning, and there's a sprinkler rate. Something about this. If you have any more detailed questions. Okay.
It's if the building's sprinklered.
Okay. And then Blaine, of course, so we added the ordinance violations, and this one's kind of important, especially with everything we have going on right now. Blaine is out and about. It's spring. People are out, and we just want to make sure we clean up everything and make sure his time is valued. So, and all those options are in there as well. So nice and light reading for the future, but most of the things are pretty accurate. Nothing's out of whack. I would just say just double checking that the lawyer is looking over it, making sure we're doing everything legal, and then that you guys are okay with the dollar amount that we're charging for things.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Thank you, Will. Any questions on that? Mark, clarification on fire territory. We obviously are not doing anything we take a vote on the study in the second, or in the council meeting, correct? Okay.
Item C on your agenda.
Yeah, I didn't know if you needed consensus or anything.
No, sir.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. If nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. We're adjourned.